Her name is Vicki Van Meter. And Vicki has done some unique things in her life simply because she had the right attitude. She's basically said, I want to do this, and she went and did it. Well, what did she do? Okay, let's see, what did she do? She decided that being an astronaut might be a lot of fun. And so her parents, who are very supportive, said, well, gee, astronauts have to fly, so maybe you should try flying, and if you like that, then you can work on the other. So see, that set this goal and attain that, and then reach for the further goal. So she gave flying a little try, and I guess she liked it because she then went on to become the youngest female to fly coast to coast across the United States, and then the youngest female to pilot a plane across the Atlantic. So not bad for somebody who's now just 13 years old. Pretty amazing, huh? So along with that came a lot of celebrity status. A couple of examples. She's been on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. She's been on David Letterman. She's met lots and lots of politicians. I think she became the honorary mayor to Oklahoma City. You remember Catherine Calloway, the CNN anchor from yesterday? This girl's got more airtime than Catherine does. It's just amazing. But she gets a lot of letters from folks like you saying, wow, you're a role model to me. I think that that's great. You inspire me. And I'd like to read you one of those letters. It can actually be found in Vicki's book. Yeah, she's a published author, too. Pretty incredible. This book is called Taking Flight, My Story by Vicki Van Meter. And it's written to girls your age, explaining how you can go about accomplishing wonderful things. Here's an example. Dear Vicki, at school we have goals, and I have made a lot of them. When I heard about your flight, it really made me think about what I can do and about what I can accomplish. I think it's really cool that you would like to be the first woman to go to the moon. I hope you are. I hope so too, because then I can say I met somebody who went to the moon. But I hope that she doesn't stop there. I hope she continues to set those wonderful goals higher and higher, and goes on from there. And I hope you all enjoy meeting her, and I'm sure she'd love to chat with you afterwards, sign autographs or anything like that. This time I'd like to introduce to you a very good friend of mine, one of my own personal role models, Vicki Van Meter.
Thank you, everybody. I guess I put a mic on me, and I don't know if everybody can hear me, but thank you, Marianne, for your very kind introduction. I'm very glad to be here today at one of my favorite places down in Huntsville, because I've been here before twice going to the camp, and I just love it. It's great. It's just a great camp, and maybe some of you have gone, but if you haven't, it's just a place where you get to learn about space and math and science and a lot of teamwork, and it's a fun place to go. And you get to meet a lot of interesting people. In fact, I just got a letter from a boy from Australia that I met here last summer. So that was pretty cool. But anyways, I'm really pleased and honored to be asked to participate in this Sword to Success seminar. You've been very lucky to have been given advice and guidance from a lot of successful women. So I was wondering, where do I fit in? Anyways, I'd like to tell you a story about some blind men examining an elephant by touching it. And it sounds sort of strange, but it does have a point. There were 3 blind men, and the first one touched the trunk of the elephant and said the elephant was like a snake. And the second blind man touched the elephant and said he touched the leg and said it felt like a tree trunk. And the third one touched the tusk and said it was like a long, thin rock. We each have our own ideas on how to source to success based on our own experiences. You have listened to a lot of points of view on this subject, and now I hope that you can take it all in and maybe form an opinion of your own about how to source to success. Well, I guess I should start with some background on myself. Marianne did introduce me, but I learned to fly by accident. when I was 10, my family took a ride to a small local airport where I live in Meadville, Pennsylvania. We looked at the new terminal building that they were building, and there was a sign-up sheet for people interested in learning how to fly. And I said, well, maybe since I want to become an astronaut, I should just take a ride and see what it's like being up in the air, to even see if I like flying. And so I went up on my first lesson, and I found that it was something I really enjoyed doing, and just like any other sport or hobby, it was something I wanted to continue. So I started to take lessons, and then I went to private pilot ground school. And private pilot ground school is a place where pilots go to learn about the plane and how to fly it and just a lot of different things. And I went to that for it lasts 10 weeks, and you go once a week for 3 hours. So I had to go to that, and it was hard because I was the only kid in there, and everybody else they were all grown-ups, and it was easy for them to pick on me and everything, and so it was hard doing that. And plus, I was going to regular school at the same time, so I had 2 schools to go to, and sometimes I'd have to sneak in my math book and study for a test or something while I was in ground school. But when I took the final test, I didn't pass it, so I signed up to take all the classes all over again because flying was something I really enjoyed and something that I wanted to do, and I just didn't want to give it up because I didn't pass the test. So I took it again, and this time I passed the test. So after that, I continued to take flying lessons, and I went on little short cross countries to places like Erie and Pittsburgh and Cleveland, places that are close to where I live. And then I set a goal to fly to my sister's graduation in North Carolina. And after I did that, I was back in town, and I was in a local air show, and I was just sitting around, and there was nothing really to do, and I had 60 hours of ground school and 50 hours of flying time, and it was in the summer, and I decided, well, I think I'm ready for a bigger challenge. So I set a goal to fly across the country, and after that, across the Atlantic Ocean. And you might have heard about those flights, but Marianne did say there's a book, and I recommend that you all go out and buy it, and it's in the gift shop, so just run and get it. And actually, I'll talk, if anybody has any questions at the end of my speech, they can ask me some. So, well, here I am after many hours of study and practice, and if I continue to want to meet my goal of becoming an astronaut someday, there will be many more hours of learning to come. Well, I'm in the 8th grade right now, and my favorite subject is math. And I try to fly about once a month, but I'm still a kid. And I like to spend time with my friends, and I play the acoustic guitar, and I enjoy sports. I play tennis and basketball. I'm going to start too. And I also work out with weights because I'm a weakling, and I run on the treadmill and walk on the treadmill. So, but one of my goals is to concentrate on my studies because that is very important to me. And I know I'll have to study hard if I want to go to the Naval Academy someday and become an astronaut. I learned a lot on my flights. Maybe something I've learned can also help some of you. I learned that we need help and support from others. We don't do anything alone. We need help from our family and friends. In my case, my instructors were a very major part in my flying. They were willing to share their knowledge about flying with me. I needed them to accomplish my goal of flying across the Atlantic and the U.S. So accept help and appreciate it. I also found out that communication is important. The world is a lot smaller than you think it is. We need to be able to communicate with each other by learning different languages. In fact, I was talking to Jan Davis, the astronaut, and she said that on one of the missions that she was on, she had to learn a little Japanese because she was working with some Japanese astronauts. So, I mean, that's just something they have to learn, Russian and just different languages. And my own experience was I was in Iceland and in Greenland, and they had fast food places like McDonald's, and there was a worker there that was probably around 15 or so, and she knew her own language and also English because when we walked in, she started speaking to us in English, and then another customer walked in, and she was speaking in another language, and I appreciate the worker trying to accommodate all of us. I mean, it was very nice for her to do that. And I would like to learn a lot of languages, as many as I can, and right now I'm taking French. So we hear so many bad stories on the news. We hear a lot of discouraging things about our world. But I learned that there are lots of good people out there doing good things. We live in an interesting world. We must do our part and take responsibility to take care of it. I took a trip to Iceland without my parents back a couple years ago. And it was hard because I miss them. And right now I probably would like to go to Iceland without them because I don't like being with them that much because I'm 13. But when I was, 11 or 12, it was hard because I miss them because I was out there and it was just a faraway place and desolate. But I had to remember that I was not alone because God was there, and I learned that He is everywhere to help you and guide you through things. I think I've also learned some basic things about life that might help you soar to success. I think you heard this already, but maybe it's worth hearing again. Setting goals leads to success. Setting goals is like making a map of where you want to go. I've always tried to set goals for myself, and once I accomplish one, I think about it, and then I set another one and work towards it. When I first started to fly, it was too hard to think about flying across the Atlantic or the country. I really didn't even think about that. All I thought about was passing my tests or trying not to get sick in the plane. And as I started flying more and more, I adjusted my goals to be bigger as I accomplished the first ones. And our goals also change as we change. When I look back on it now, it all happened gradually, a little at a time, and before I knew it, I was crossing the Atlantic. So set goals for yourself, goals that are important to you and that you're interested in. And also take advantage of opportunities wherever your interests lie. Because it's like, if all you do is say, oh, I just want to become a pilot, and that's it, and you get an opportunity to go on a photography adventure or something, and you get a chance to take photos, and you say, no, I don't want to be a photographer, all I want to do is be a pilot, then you single yourself out to just becoming a pilot, and you might find out later on that that's not what you really want to do. And what if you did take that opportunity of going on the photography adventure and you find out that that's something you really like doing? And so you just have to have your mind open to a lot of different things. It takes courage and sometimes to try new things. And sometimes we can be a little afraid. I read this quote on the outside of a journal by A.M. Hershey. Courage doesn't always roar. I can't say that. Sometimes courage is a quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow. Courage is trying. Something that I learned at different times in my life is that sometimes people will set a goal or achieve it, and then others will try to pull you down. I'm sure that's happened to everybody here, where people make fun of you because maybe you got an A on a test or something. And how many times has that happened to anybody here? Have they got knocked down by people? See, it's happened to everybody. And I have some examples that have happened to me. Sometimes it can be in society. Like when I was little, I loved playing baseball. And I remember I didn't like softball because I thought the ball was too big, so I wanted to play baseball. And I went to go sign up, and there was this guy there. And he was like, no, we don't accept girls. This is a male league. And I was thinking, what? And so we stayed there, me and my dad, and we were like, well, she wants to play. And so he went and he talked to some other guy, and they said, well, we'll let you try out. And so I tried out, and I did make the first round pick. And I went on and I was playing, and not to brag, but I was pretty good at second base. And so that turned out to be good, but at the beginning they weren't going to let me play, so that wasn't fair. But sometimes it can be adults that try to pull you down. Like when I was up in Iceland getting the weather, I was there with my instructor, and and we were both in the weather station, and there was a guy there, and he was giving the weather to my instructor, and I was like, well, wait a minute, I'm the pilot here, and he's like, oh, whatever, and he just gave the weather to my instructor, but I got in there and I got it. But he was just because I was a kid, just because my age, he didn't think that, you know, I could fly, or that I was a pilot or didn't have the talent. So you just have to ignore them. And sometimes it can be your peers. And I have a lot of examples of that. When I went to school last year, it was hard because I was going to a new school. I was starting 7th grade and going to the junior high. And it's hard for anybody to go because you're in with a lot of new people, the new age group, and all the bigger kids are trying to pick on you. But it was especially hard for me because I live in a small town, and they were picking on me because, you know, I fly. And let's see, just one example of it would be maybe there was this one kid, and he kept on bugging me, and he was saying, if I drop you off of a building, do you think you could fly? And I was just getting sick of him. And so one of my friends was there, and she told him off big time. And I probably won't be able to say what she said, but I forget, but she told him off big time, so I was happy about that. But that's not the point here. The point is that sometimes they try to knock you down, and don't let anybody discourage you from your goals, because you can't let anyone take away the feeling of your accomplishment when you have met a goal. Challenges like that help you grow and become stronger. Another thing is, don't underestimate others or yourself. It doesn't matter how old they are or what they look like. Everyone is capable of great things. We need to recognize and respect the possibilities in one another. Everyone is special and has special talents. You have special talents, and it's up to you to find out what those are. Once you find out your special abilities, you can start working on them by setting goals and taking advantage of opportunities and working hard, most of all, believing in yourself. And even when it's sometimes hard, stick to those goals no matter what. And girls, we need to encourage and support each other. I have a friend who is the only girl on the hockey team, and she doesn't get picked on that much, but I support her because it's something that she enjoys doing, even though it's probably like considered a male sport. But I've gone to some of her games, and I support her, and she also supports me with flying, and we both think what we do is pretty cool. So we need to help each other so that we can all soar to success. Young people like you and me, can make a lot of good things happen. We can make the world a better place to live in. I've had some great experiences. It's been an exciting few years for me, and pretty busy too. And I'll think about my next goal, but right now I'm not sure, because anything is possible. Well, once again, I'm happy to be here, and I thank you for having me, and I hope that every one of you soars to success.